Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Throwing Partners podcast. It's Kirby and Joe here, coming to you on a Monday night. Joe, we are going to give a couple of World Series game recaps, and then we're also going to talk a little bit about Brian Cashman, and maybe a couple potential trade targets for the Astros. So, Joe, I want to get your first reactions from Game 1 of the World Series.
Man. Drive into left. At the wall. It's gone. Tie game. Man, MLB had been hoping and praying for this World Series since 2017. This is the absolute dream matchup for them. You've got the East Coast versus West Coast, LA versus New York, and Game 1 did not disappoint. It was the most watched World Series Game 1 since 2017 Astros versus the Dodgers. And oh my God, Giancarlo Stanton just got gunned out at home. That was an incredible play. I had to just chime in there. That was incredible. Teoscar Hernandez, former future Astro, just gunned down Giancarlo Stanton like the true Astro he is. 2017 Astro legend Teoscar Hernandez. By the way, I got the year that he was traded wrong in the last video. He was traded in 2017 to the Blue Jays for Francisco Liriano, I think that was who he got traded for. So I got that wrong in the last episode. But as I was saying, most watched World Series Game 1 since 2017, and it did not disappoint. I was tuning in the entire game last year. I did not watch very much of the World Series. There was no way you were going to catch me watching the Rangers and Diamondbacks. But this World Series did not disappoint. It has not disappointed so far. The games have been very close. They have gone blow for blow. And even though the Yankees got shut down by Yamamoto in Game 2, they still found a way to put pressure at the end. But the Game 1 was just an absolute masterpiece. You could not have written a better script for that game, with all of the stars that are on each team. I believe that they have 5 combined MVPs, 2 Cy Youngs. I believe it was like 16 All-Stars combined. It's just an absolutely insane roster of talent to have matched up in a World Series. And like I said, the game did not disappoint. You had Jack Flaherty and Garrett Cole going bar for bar. Jack Flaherty went 5 1/3 innings. He gave up 2 runs. He had 6 Ks. Garrett Cole went 6 strong innings. He only gave up 1 run, unlike 2019 when he shit the bed against the Nationals. Yeah, why couldn't he do that in Game 1 in 2019? But that's neither here nor there. He only had 4 strikeouts, however. A lot of his outs were on contact, which, whatever. He got the out. The bullpens, for the most part, did a good job of shutting him down until the 10th inning. The game was tied. The Dodgers, first of all, tied the game in the bottom of the 8th. And I can't remember who tied it up, but they tied it up in the bottom of the 8th to force extra innings. And in the 10th inning, the Yankees would score a run. And then in the bottom of the 10th, with 2, I believe it was 2 outs. With 2 outs, Freddie Freeman comes up to bat, and he absolutely unloads on a first pitch fastball from nasty Nestor Cortez. He saw that pitch and he just absolutely unloaded. That was one of the greatest calls of all time. It was such an insane moment. The similarities between the Kurt Gibson walk-off home run against the Athletics, I believe it was in 83?
88.
I don't remember. I don't know what World Series that was. 88.
Before
my time. Yeah, before my lifetime too. But the Kurt Gibson walk-off home run in 88 against the Athletics, where Vin Scully had a very iconic call. The fact that Joe Davis had the wherewithal to, kind of use that same call in that moment with such similar situations A player who was gimp on one leg, just absolutely uncorking to walk off a game one of the World Series. It was so similar, but it also had similarities to Yordan Alvarez's walk off in Game One of the 2022 ALDS against what the Houston Astros and the Seattle Mariners. Each occurrence, both managers thought it would be a good idea to bring in a middling lefty starting pitcher, and thought that bringing them in against one of the best left-handed hitters in the game was a good idea for whatever reason. And both managers made a stupid face after the fact. So it's just very similar. It was great overall to see. As many of you know, I am currently rooting for the Dodgers, even though I wish the Asteroids would have won before the series even started. But we are here, and the Dodgers are up 2-0 in this series after going up 1-0 from that Freddie Freeman walk-off home run. Now in Game 2, Yamamoto absolutely shut down the Yankees, and Freeman homered again, pushing the Dodgers past the Yankees 4-2. There wasn't really much from this game other than the fact that Freeman once again just absolutely uncorked on one, hit a home run. And I will say that before the game was even played, I had a text from Kirby in our group chat saying that he believed Carlos Rodon would get lit up by the Dodgers lineup. And he was absolutely spot on. He went 3 1/3. He gave up 6 hits, 4 runs with only 3 strikeouts, which would eventually put the Dodgers past the Yankees. He was the only pitcher to give up runs in the game for the Yankees. After that, the bullpen for the Yankees pretty much shut the Dodgers lineup down. And I mean, they kept it close, for the offense to make a potential comeback. But you have Aaron Judge in the lineup. He's not really doing much. Jazz isn't doing much. Glaber's not doing much. It's basically Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton and a bunch of duct tape players put together right now for the Yankees lineup. They just don't seem like they actually want to be there. They also had probably one of the easiest paths to the World Series in recent memory. And I will get to this in a little bit, but I want to hear your thoughts on this. I think that the Yankees are frauds. I've been saying this. I didn't believe that they were actually going to get to the World Series. They somehow managed to, facing probably, like I said, one of the weakest schedules to get to the World Series in recent memory. Now, I know that that's not any fault of their own, because they just played the schedule that was in front of them, and they played the teams that were put in front of them. But I think that we're seeing the effects of that playing out right now, where they are just absolutely getting walloped by the Los Angeles Dodgers. So I want to hear your thoughts on, how this series has played out so far, and then I will get into kind of the Yankees postseason history since the last time they beat a non-AL Central opponent in the American League side of the bracket.
So Game 1 was great. Joe, we saw 2 really good starts from the starters. Jack Flaherty had a good start, going 5 1/3, and Garrett Cole obviously went 6 innings. I know that you really resent Cole from that Game 1 start in the World Series against the Nationals, but if you look at his overall numbers as a postseason pitcher, his overall numbers are actually really good. He's got an under 3 ERA for his career in the postseason, I think in 21 starts. So that's pretty solid. Neither one of them really had a lot of swing and miss. Flaherty had 6 Ks, which was great. The pitching staff for the Dodgers ended up having 13 Ks total. So that's pretty solid. That's something that we've been seeing from the Dodgers, is their pitching staff really has a pretty high swing and miss. But the Freddie walk-off, Joe, first of all, that's the first walk-off grand slam we've ever had in a World Series game. The World Series has been going on since, I think, 1903. So we're talking about 120 plus years of never having a walk-off grand slam in a World Series game. So I thought that was really cool. Of course, something quirky like that happens in the World Series, because that's baseball. So I thought that was really cool to see. As for Game 2, Yamamoto showed why he is every bit of $300 million. He didn't have to strike out a lot of guys. He went 6 1/3, had 4 Ks, only gave up 1 run. Every single team would take that start from their starter in a postseason series. It doesn't matter if you're in a wild card series, a division series, a CS, or a World Series. That is an extremely exceptional start. And the fact that he only threw 86 pitches. So for him, he could actually probably come back on short rest if necessary, which the way this series is going, it ain't going to be necessary. He's not even going to have to pitch again. And then I was looking at some stats before game 2, and I sent a message, like you said, in our group, and I said, I think Rodon is going to get rocked tonight. And Joe, I only looked at 2 things. I looked at how well does he pitch on the road, horribly, and then I looked at how well does he pitch with Wells behind the plate, because that's who that I knew who was catching, and both of those numbers were terrible. And what happened? He ended up going 3 1/3, and he gave up 4 runs. So I was pretty spot on. I was pretty proud of myself there. But game 2 was game. Nothing about game 2 really thrilled me. The Yankees had some opportunities here and there, but they couldn't capitalize. Once again, the Yankees in game 2 were 1 for 6. As in game 1, I think they were 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Game 1, the Yankees actually out-hit the Dodgers 10-7, but they were 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. So if you've only got 2 hits with runners in scoring position through 2 games, you're probably not winning much, because you're either hitting a lot of solo home runs, which they're not, especially if you're Aaron Judge, because he just sucks. So far, the Dodgers have been in total control. The Yankees really should have won game 1, but Booney made a stupid decision bringing in Nestor. He should have gone to Hill there. I don't know why he didn't. Nestor hadn't thrown a pitch in like 30-something days, which I don't really think that was fair to Nestor, to throw him into that situation. So I actually kind of felt bad. I was like, that's a really crappy situation for him to have to come into. And it's not like he came in to face Muncy or this or that bum essentially at the bottom. No, he came in to face Shohei, Mookie, Freddie. Probably the 3 best, the best big 3 in all of baseball. So I thought that was really a terrible decision by Boone, and the fact that, I mean, who wants their first appearance to come in that situation? It didn't make any sense to me. Other reactions I have, Aaron Judge has been absolutely atrocious. I don't know if the Yankees need a lineup shift. Personally, for me, this is going to sound absolutely asinine, but I would actually maybe consider going like Judge leadoff. And here's why I say that. Because if Judge is leadoff, then you're going to put Soto behind him. If Judge is your best player, supposed to be, you would think they would want the bat in his hands. Maybe not in the postseason, but I would go like Judge, Soto, Stanton. Just try it. What's the worst that happens? You get shut out again? I mean, God, nothing has worked for them so far. The Dodgers pitching staff has made mincemeat of their hitters besides Soto and Stanton. I would just try it. I would go Judge, Soto, Stanton, whoever else next. It doesn't even matter. Just to see if they will actually pitch to Judge and not pitch around him. Because really, once you pitch to Soto or pitch around Soto, you can pitch to Judge because he sucks. And then Stanton, you got to be careful with, but Stanton also has a swing and miss problem as well. So I don't know. I would give it a shot if I'm Aaron Boone, but I mean, within an hour and a half, this game's going to be over. The Yankees are going to be down 3-0 in this series, which, in my opinion, is MLB's worst nightmare. Because if this series ends tomorrow, the most hyped World Series that we've had in our lifetime turns out to be the worst World Series we've had since 2007, which was also a sweep.
2005.
So I really think that this series it's been so one-sided. We are seeing once again that the American League is even worse than we all thought, because all of the American League numbers were inflated by the horrendousness, if that's even a word, of the Chicago White Sox. Because if you don't play the White Sox, half of those teams that made the postseason don't make the postseason. And you've got the Astros that are higher seeded. You got teams like maybe even the Red Sox that make the postseason. It's just ridiculous how bad they were and how much it inflated some of these records and really just kind of screwed the whole AL side of the bracket. So it's just it's just irritating. It's really irritating. It's actually irritating how terrible the Yankees are right now because, to be honest with you, Joe, they may be the worst team to ever make the World Series. Because like I even look at the Diamondbacks last year, and yeah, they were not good, but they had a great bullpen. They had 3 good starters. The Yankees don't have 3 good starters. They had a decent lineup. They had a lot more speed than the Yankees do. We're talking about an 84-win Diamondback team last year. If the Diamondbacks would have played this Yankee team, they would have won in 5 or 6 games. Guaranteed. Not even kidding. I don't think they're that good, especially the way that they've hit lately. They haven't hit well in one single game, really. So they're not good.
Yeah, so that was my concern coming into the postseason. That is what I had preached this entire time. Now, it might have felt like I, got self-owned when they ended up making it to the World Series, but I saw the writing on the wall long before anybody else did. A lot of people were high on the Yankees because of their lineup. I was low on the Yankees because of their lineup. I saw the writing on the wall. It was, like I said, Giancarlo Stanton and Juan Soto and a bunch of duct tape pieces, like a bunch of duct tape, like put together. Coming out of the regular season, swap Judge for Stanton, and it was Judge and Soto. But I even said, coming into the postseason, Aaron Judge, notoriously not a good postseason hitter. He is a career 197. He has a career 197 batting average. He's got an OPS of 733 in the postseason. This 2024 postseason, he is hitting 143 with a 579 OPS. He has been downright unplayable. And it's funny, it is so funny that you mentioned moving him up in the lineup as a kind of remedy to help this Yankees lineup get a jump start. Because that is exactly what Alex Rodriguez suggested on one of the post games on Saturday night, and I laughed because I think that is hilarious in my opinion. You do not want to be giving one of the worst postseason hitters. There was a graphic with Martin Maldonado and Aaron Judge at the same time for the same category earlier this postseason. I don't care what it is. You do not want to be on any graphic next to Martin Maldonado where it is a list. Okay, he had the highest strikeout percentage for a postseason hitter behind Martin Maldonado. It was Martin Maldonado and then him, and then I don't remember who else it was, but that is not a list that you want to be on. You do not want to give that person more at bats. I swear, I laughed. I even have it written down on my notes. I was like, A-Rod suggests giving him more at-bats. LOL. Because I think that is hilarious. I don't think that this is something that can be fixed by putting Juan Soto or Giancarlo Stanton behind him. I think that this is something where he just crumbles under the bright lights. I think that's plain and simple. I mean, we have seen it through every iteration of this Yankees team since 2017 that they've made the postseason. He has been the reason why they haven't won a series. If you look back to the 2017 postseason, when they were playing the Astros in New York, they won all 3 games in New York because he actually hit the ball against the Astros when they were in New York. Now, I will get to more about 2017 and the Yankees, but as of right now, I'm just going to say, I would not be surprised if this series ends tomorrow night, and if the Dodgers clean sweep the Yankees. I mean, they are just getting absolutely dominated right now. The Yankees can't buy a hit. The Yankees crowd is dead, and quite honestly, I'm surprised that Yankees fans didn't boo Aaron Judge when they were doing the player introductions for this first game at Yankee Stadium. I know that they have like this reputation, and I know a lot of the fans have been trying to, put that behind them. But honestly, the way that he's been playing, and not only this World Series but this postseason, I would boo the hell out of him if I was a Yankees fan, because we are paying you to be the captain. They announced his name and they said the captain, and that is a disgrace to Derek Jeter's name right there. If I
Mhm.
was Derek Jeter, I would be absolutely furious. I like that is just tarnishing the title of captain. If you cannot show up when it matters the most, when you're in the World Series for the first time in 15 years and you crumble under the lights, I think that is an embarrassment for the history, the uniform, uh, the title, everything. I just, I don't see a way that the Yankees win this series.
4-0
And the
Dodgers,
Dodgers
by the
just
way.
scored another one.
Yep.
Just scored another run. So it is now 4-0 Dodgers in Game 3 of the World Series. Um, and it was
Thanks,
a
Kike.
ball hit right up the middle to Aaron Judge. The former Astro legend, 2015 Astro legend, Kike Hernandez. Once again, the Astros run the league. You've got Teoscar Hernandez with an absolute hose out in left field. You've got Kike Hernandez driving in runs left and right. You also had a Teoscar Hernandez home run, I believe, in the second game of the series, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So just once again, Astros run the league. I'm always gonna make it about the Astros, even when they're not playing. So yeah, just Aaron Judge, they need to figure something out with him. I don't know what it is. But I think that this also just solidifies that the Yankees absolutely need to pay Juan Soto at the end of the season, because outside of that, losing Juan Soto, if you have a team of Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, and you put aside the fact that Giancarlo Stanton has been absolutely great this postseason, he has been everything that you want out of a superstar. You cannot rely on him being healthy again for another full season and being available for a postseason in the future. He is getting older and he's been
He's a
injury
walking
prone his
injury.
whole career. Yeah,
Mhm.
he is a walking injury. So as much as he's been great and he's done a lot for the Yankees this season, I would be scared as hell to have a Yankees roster that does not have Juan Soto on it next year, for the simple fact that I know that Judge is going to disappear when it comes to the bright lights in the postseason. And then I'm not sure if Giancarlo Stanton is going to be able to perform like he has been this year because he's hurt.
You know,
So that's I think that just means that the Yankees have to pay Juan Soto. I think that it
I
makes
think
it so much easier.
I do think that he wants to get paid, obviously, because he's already turned down 440 from the Nationals. But there's still a
Yeah.
part of me that thinks that more than anything, that this dude just likes to win. And he doesn't want to be on a team full of losers. And to be honest with you, Joe, if the Yankees don't re-sign him, obviously they're going to make some kind of moves in the offseason. But you're not replacing Juan Soto with anybody that's a free agent this year. You would have to go trade for somebody. The Yankees may not win 85 games next year if they don't bring Soto back. No telling how many wins that they could actually have.
I will say that I think the Yankees' success is sustainable because Aaron Judge hits bad pitching at a phenomenal level. And I think that is one of the biggest differences between the postseason and the regular season. Everybody is always asking, "Oh, what happened to Aaron Judge? Why does he fall off so much?" If you go back and look at the home runs that he hits, look at the counts that he's in, look at the placement of the pitches, and look at the
Middle.
scores of the game. It is middle. I keep tweeting it out every time Judge hits a home run. I do count, location, inning, and score. And it is always in he's like a garbage time merchant. The Yankees will be up 5-2 in the top, or no, in the top of the ninth. Let's say they're on the road, and Aaron Judge is hitting a 3-run home run, and it's off of a reliever that throws 88 down the pipe, and he just uncorks on one. It's just go and watch some of the home runs that he's hit, and you can very clearly see why he struggles against good pitching. Now, I'm not saying that he's never hit good pitching in his career. Obviously, when you're in the regular season, you're playing 162 games, you're able to hit good pitching. I'm not saying that none of his home runs are against good pitching. None of his success is against good pitching. But I do wholeheartedly believe that a lot of his numbers are against bad pitching, and you can very clearly see that there is a big drop off when the postseason starts and the pitching is just at another level than it is during the regular season. It's
You know,
just that simple.
I think back a lot to the ALCS against the Guardians and that at bat against Clase. 99 times out of 100, Judge does not hit that ball. That ball is a swing and a miss for him. That the fact that he hit that ball out, for one thing, that was an incredible piece of hitting. But 99 times out of 100, he does not hit that ball. He does not touch that ball. Because that was actually a really good pitch by Clase. But it's one of those things that I don't know what the fix is for him. I'm sure that the mental skills coach has probably been trying to work with him like every single day, but clearly it's not working. Because it's a lot of his is like pitch selection. When you're swinging at sliders 8 inches off the plate, that is 100% on you. That has nothing to do with your mechanics, anything like that. It has everything to do with your pitch selection. If you're swinging at crap that's 8, 10, a foot off the plate, that's 100% on you. Look at Anthony Volpe, same thing. He's doing the same thing. They are the same player right now in the postseason, just atrocious. I know that you wanted to talk a little bit about Brian Cashman, so I want to let you get on your soapbox for a minute.
Yeah, okay. So I know I've been talking a lot during this episode so far, but I'm gonna keep yapping because Brian Cashman decided to open his trap. His team had just won the pennant for the first time in 15 years, and on a Wednesday morning, he goes on an MLB radio or on MLB Network with Mad Dog, and he just loves to spout the biggest load of crap nonsense I have heard anybody spout. He really had the audacity when Mad Dog said, "It has been 15 years since you've been to the World Series. How does it feel now?" He really had the audacity to say, well, you say 15, but it really doesn't feel like 15. And there are some teams that got away with something that prevented us from going in 2017. You just have to be the biggest hypocrite on the planet. Because first of all, the Yankees were caught cheating, doing the same thing. The Astros had 2 former Yankees on that 2017 team, and Brian McCann and Carlos Beltran, who came directly from the Yankees. And Carlos Beltran was allegedly the mastermind behind the whole sign stealing scandal and told players on the Astros that teams had been doing this for years and that they were ages behind. So that's besides the point. But your team is making the World Series for the first time in 15 years, and that is really what you want to bring up in that moment. Celebrate your victory, man, for the love of God. You got your doors blown off the last time you even went to the postseason in the ALCS by the same team you are criticizing at that very moment. I don't know if you remember, but you got swept by the Astros in 2022. You lost in 6 games in 2019, and there was no cheating then, and that's been proven. So if you want to shut the hell up, go ahead, be my friend. You clearly don't, and you clearly, again, are getting your absolute doors blown off when you're not facing an AL Central opponent in the postseason. They have not beaten a non-AL Central opponent in the postseason since 2012. You know how crazy that is? The Astros have beaten a team from every division in MLB since that time. They have beaten a team from the NL West. They have beaten a team from the AL West. They have beaten a team from the AL Central. They haven't beaten. Okay, there's one division they haven't beaten in, and it's because they haven't faced them. The NL Central. That is the only team. That is the only division they have not won against in the postseason since 2017. Since 2017, you have not beaten a team out of the AL Central since 2012. You know how crazy that is? That is AL Central merchant right there. That is why I did not believe in this team going in. But again, you have the audacity to cry about the Astros after getting back to the World Series for the first time in 15 years. I do not respect you. You clearly do not have any shred of self-dignity. The Yankees, as a team, scored 3 runs in 4 games against the Houston Astros at Minute Maid Park. Cheating or not, you're not going to win a series going 7 games, if you score 3 runs at an opposing team's ballpark, I'm sorry, you're not. And you can thank Greg Bird and Aaron Judge for running in the outs at home plate from Marwin Gonzalez and Alex Bregman for that. You could have scored 5 runs. Ooh, you could have scored 5 runs. 2 of those games were really close. I believe the Astros won both the first 2 games 2-1 and 2-1 off of a Correa walk-off in the second game. But you can also thank freaking what's his name? The catcher, Gary Sanchez, for not catching the ball thrown from right center field or short right field. I mean, there are a myriad of reasons why you lost that series that had nothing to do with the cheating. And might I add that the Astros didn't even hit well at home during that series. It was the Yankees that had the big drop off and the big upswing when they went from away to home. The Yankees had some of the craziest stats I've ever seen in a postseason series when they played the 3 games at Yankee Stadium, as opposed to the huge drop off they got when they played at Minute Maid Park. So I'm sorry, but I cannot have any respect for somebody that wants to make the claim that the cheating was the reason why they didn't make it to the World Series in 2017. I am so sorry. You can make it. Yeah, I'm not even gonna. You could kind of make a case for the Dodgers that they got cheated, but there is no evidence that the Astros cheated in that in the World Series either, because allegedly they had stopped before the postseason started. That is neither here nor there. But if a Dodgers fan wanted to make that claim, then sure, whatever. But they also choked, 2 games at home. So that is what it is. They can cry. Both teams can cry. We're literally just watching what would happen in 2017 if that series had played out, because I wholeheartedly believe that the Yankees would have gotten their doors blown off in that series too if they made it. I mean, come on. They are getting their asses whooped right now, and it is a culture from the top to bottom. I mean, it is just a cultural thing from this organization. You had Aaron Boone after 2020, I believe it was game 2 of the 2022 ALCS, complaining that the damn Minute Maid Park roof was open. That is the reason why they lost. Are you kidding me? It is the most pathetic excuses from the most loser organization I have seen. And this is supposed to be MLB's most prestigious franchise right here. And year after year, they just make excuses time after time. I'm literally losing my voice right now because of how stupid it is that this organization just continues to embarrass themselves with the amount of excuses that they've made when they play the Astros. It brings a little joy to my heart. This series sucks for me, but watching the Dodgers absolutely blow their doors off has been fun. I am not gonna lie, even though it is the Dodgers. Because this is basically what we would have seen in 2017. They wanted to cry all of those years, and this is exactly how that series would have played out. I don't think there is any difference on how that series would have played out. Aaron Judge couldn't hit worth a lick. There was no team around him to do anything. I mean, it's just, you can come up with all the excuses. Brian Cashman, what happened? What happened in 2010? What happened in 2011? What happened in 2012? What happened in 2013? What happened in 2014? What happened in 2015? Oh, right. That's the Astros beat you in the wild card in 2015. What happened in 2016? Oh, you didn't make the postseason. What happened in 2017? You scored 3 runs at Minute Maid Park. What happened in 2018? You ran into the Red Sox. What happened in 2019? Aroldis Chapman left a slider down the dick for Jose Altuve to knock out of the ballpark and send us to the World Series. What happened in 2020? Oh, yeah, you shit the bed against the Rays. What happened in 2021? I don't even know what happened in 2021. Did you even make the postseason in 2021? Or did you? Oh, that's right. You got eliminated by the Red Sox again. What happened in 2022? Oh, yeah, that's right. You got your daddies, the Houston Astros, eliminated you in 4 games. None of those games were competitive. You got swept like you are about to right now in the World Series. What happened in 2023? Again. Oh, yeah, that's right. You didn't make the postseason. And again, you have to be AL Central merchants to even make it to the World Series. Again, I know that they have to play the schedule in front of them. They have no choice and the opponent that they play. But they got the easiest cakewalk to the World Series I've ever seen. A bunch of White Sox merchants in the AL Central, and again, they have not beaten a team outside of the AL Central since 2012. That blows my mind.
It just that playing the AL Central for one to me has always been just such a joke because there's never a powerhouse in the AL Central. We've seen the Royals win a World Series. But besides that, Joe, there's no team from the AL Central has anything that's really sustainable. For one, none of them really spend any money. Two, once again, next year, guess what? They're going to get to play the White Sox, who are going to suck. Guess what? You're probably going to have 3 teams that are going to be over 500 for the sheer fact that they get to play the White Sox. But thinking about the Yankees playing, the AL Central in the postseason makes me think of the Twins. Because the Twins absolutely suck in the postseason, especially against the Yankees. The Yankees dominate them in the postseason. But once again, they're playing AL Central teams. The Yankees faced a 0 adversity to make it to the World Series this year. The Royals, not good. The Guardians, not good. And guess what? Any team, honestly, from the National League, whether it would have been the Dodgers, the Mets, the Padres, all of those teams would have beat the Yankees in the World Series. And I think pretty convincingly. It may have taken 6 games, maybe for the Mets. The Padres would have swept them. The Dodgers are going to sweep them. So for me, it's just, they're really seeing now that they're not good. Like I said, they're not good. They have 2 good players, one of which has been MIA since the postseason started. And they're not great. They have 2 good starters. They have a decent bullpen. There's nothing special. They don't do anything well. They do nothing well. Their bullpen is okay. They have a couple starters that are okay. Their lineup's not good. They don't play that great of defense. So what do they do that's great? Every team that has won the World Series does something great. The Dodgers lineup is great. We've seen that all year. Their lineup is great.
Yep.
If you're gonna have something great, it's gonna be that. In 2022, the Astros bullpen, their pitching staff, was great. Last year, the Rangers, their lineup was great. The Braves in 21, their bullpen and their lineup were great. 2020, the Dodgers, a lot of them was great. The Yankees have nothing about them that is great. Nothing. None of it's great. Most of it's not even been good. It's just meh, So, I don't know. What's next on the ballot? What's next on the agenda, Joe? Because I'm tired of talking about how much the Yankees suck.
Well, you wanted to talk about Nolan Arenado potentially being traded from the Cardinals. They're not a good organization at the moment. They're looking to shed some salary. Nolan Arenado makes a lot of money. So they're obviously, trying to cut ties with him. And he obviously wants to play for a winner as he is starting to get later in his career and he wants a taste of that glory. Now, you brought up the fact that you think that the Astros might have a shot at him, and I just don't see it. I don't think they have any trade capital that they could leverage to get Arenado, unless, the Cardinals really just wanted that salary dump. But I'm sure that they genuinely want some good pieces back, and I just don't think the Astros have anything that they could get in return, or they could give in return to get Arenado. So it'll be interesting to see. I think he goes to a contender.
I think that's really the only thing holding the Astros back from making that deal is not having really good trade chips for him. Now, granted, his salary is very high. Also, too, he's coming off a very down year. And he's actually been on the decline for the last 2 years. So I don't know what his ceiling is going to look like. Obviously he's getting older. He's, I think, 33 now.
Yes, he is 33.
Yeah, so he's been one of my favorite players to watch since he broke into the league with the Rockies. I think it would be cool if they could make that move because I think a fresh start for him would be great. The Astros basically have 3 things that they could do this offseason to fill third base. 1, re-sign Alex Bregman. 2, trade for Nolan Arenado. and 3 sign Suarez. But that's it. Other than that, they have no good options for third base. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that they've probably been working with Bregman, I would assume. I mean, they're gonna have that first week after the World Series. They're gonna have exclusive rights to him to try to sign him. But I mean, that's coming up quick, Joe. We're talking about this dude could be signed with another team within 2 weeks, potentially.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Mm.
there's no
Yeah.
telling what can happen. There's a lot of teams that like to make things
So
happen that first week of that they can. So we'll see.
yeah, so another pushback I have on the whole Nolan Arenado thing is quite simply age. And the contract that he's making. I believe next year he will be making around he'll be making a salary of $21 million. And he is 33 and, as you said, declining. I would rather Jim Crane go out and spend the extra $9 to $10 million it's going to take to keep Alex Bregman at the ripe age of 30. And you know, I know that Arenado was under contract for less time, but he's also just older. So I would say that keeping Bregman, just signing him to a deal, if you can get him at 8 and 9 years, just do it. I mean, he showed after his very slow start, and I was very critical of him at the beginning of the season, but he showed that, when he is on, the Astros are on, and he was a big part of the reason why the Astros were even in contention during the latter half of the season this year, was because he actually started playing well in the absence of Kyle Tucker. So I think that, again, the smart move is to keep Alex Bregman, retain his authority and his presence in the lineup and in the clubhouse. And I think that doing anything outside of that would be a mistake, unless you're getting a Eugenio Suarez for really cheap. Or a decent amount, and then for a shorter deal. Now, I will say one thought that I do have about the Astros' potential offseason, and this is just, it is a fantasy, but Jim Crane hasn't been the owner that spends money or likes to spend a lot of money, and I had a big rant about that last episode. But I will say that there is one player entering the free agent market that fits the mold of someone who you would still want to sign long term for a 10 to 12-year deal, who is hitting free agency at absolutely the perfect time. It's Juan Soto. Buddy, Jim Crane. If you're going to spend the money, if you have ever going to have spent the money, your biggest gripe with signing free agents is that by the time they hit free agency, they're already 30, like 29 or 30. Juan Soto is 20. I believe he just turned 26, if I'm not mistaken, or he just turned 25. I don't know. He just turned 26. He just turned 26. If you sign him to a 10-year deal, he will be 36 by the end of it. And some players are still good at 36, and I have no reason to believe that Juan Soto cannot be good still when he's 36. I am just saying, if Jim Crane were to ever unload the dump truck full of money for somebody, I think Juan Soto would be the perfect candidate. He is a World Series. He can hit when the lights are the brightest. He hits very well at Minute Maid Park. He checks all of my boxes. He's a left fielder, a right fielder, depending on where you want to put him. I don't care.
He's a left fielder or DH.
Yeah, he's a left fielder or DH, which is some of the holes that the Astros need to fill over the offseason. You can rotate him and Jordan in left field. I don't care. Just make it happen, Jim Crane. That's all I'm saying. Is I believe in you. I believe that you can do it. You can do it. If there was ever a free agent that you were to sign to a 10-year contract, 10 or 12-year contract, it is Juan Soto. It is Juan Soto, because he is 26 years old and he will be still in the middle of his prime throughout the entirety of his contract. And you can only say that maybe the last year of his contract, you might start to see some decline. So I think you go after it, Jim. That is my pitch.
I think it's really interesting, too, that obviously the Yankees are getting curb stomped in this series. And now we have I think 4 teams that are confirmed that they are going to pursue him in the offseason. And that is obviously the Yankees, um, the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Phillies. I told you 2 months ago that I thought the Phillies would actually go after him just because of Dave Dombrowski. Dave Dombrowski will open up his checkbook and write him a check for whatever he wants. Because I'm going to tell you right now, he could play left or right at the bank and probably excel for the next 10 to 15 years, and I would freaking hate it. But then also too, you have several other teams that could actually spend the money on that. The Cubs could go out and spend that money. The Red Sox could go out and spend that money. There's so many teams, Joe, that he could actually reasonably sign with. Now, I don't know what his contract is going to look like. I know that we've been talking about him getting 450, 500. I'm assuming he probably gets 500 million for probably 13 years. That's my guess. That brings that AAV down to 42, 44 million, somewhere in there. Which, guess what? That's how much Scherzer and Justin Verlander got. So that's a pretty fair comp when it comes to performance overall. Now, granted, they were old. They were 40. So we'll see. And who's to say, after what we just saw with Shohei in this offseason, that Soto's not going to get 556? It wouldn't surprise anybody if this dude gets 13 years at $600 million. That wouldn't surprise anybody. And if a team said, you know what, he's going to make $30 million a year now, and he's going to get $30 million a year for the next 10 years into retirement, that wouldn't surprise anybody either, especially what we just saw with Shohei. Teams are willing to do the deferred money because they can make that money right now to pay that guy later. Look at postseason shares. They're making a ton of money just on postseason shares. Look at jersey sales. Look at Shohei himself. He is his own economy. That dude is making $25 to $35 million him just on endorsements and himself and everything that he does that's involved with him. He is literally his own little economy. He's probably a bigger economy than half of the countries in the world. So it's crazy to think that a player can have that kind of impact, but also too, think about how many casual fans will tune in just to watch said player. There was more viewership in Japan for Game 1 of the World Series than there was in the U.S. because of Shohei. So, now I'm not saying that Soto has that effect, but a lot of people love Soto. Myself included. I love watching that dude hit. He is the most complete hitter in the game today. I still don't care what anybody says about Judge. When it comes to, I want this guy at the plate every single time, it's Soto. I want Soto at the dish, more so than anybody.
Yep.
But anyway, is there anything else you wanted to discuss tonight, Joe?
Yeah, other than the fact that, as you mentioned, it is rumored and confirmed by John Heyman that the Dodgers are going to be in on Juan Soto over the offseason. I think that, it's kind of funny because I did go on a little rant. I went on a little escapade last episode about how teams needed to spend more money. Well, okay, so I'm not gonna lie. I think that there needs to be an incentive to spend more money, but there also needs to be a ceiling. There needs to be a ceiling and a floor, and that is my wholehearted belief. There needs to be a salary floor. That means, your team has got to spend X amount of money to meet the minimum requirement. Or you get, massive amounts of fines, and the fines need to equal
or
up
lose draft
the
picks.
difference. Yeah, or lose draft picks, something of that. There needs to be a penalty for not meeting that minimum. Now, there also needs to be a ceiling, because as it stands right now, the Dodgers payroll is almost $400 million. It's at 353 or something like that. I don't know the exact number. It's in the high 300s. And if they were to just get Juan Soto, that would be absolutely ridiculous. I know that injuries can happen, but at that point, would it really even be worth playing the entirety of the season? I mean, you might as well play 60 games and have a, 2-team postseason, because it's not going to matter. Now, I know that crazier things have happened. You have the 2019 Houston Astros, for example, not winning it all, one of the best teams to ever touch the face of the planet, and then them choking. The Dodgers do have that choking gene in them. Obviously, not when they're not playing the AL Central merchant Yankees, but I I think that would be a absolutely lopsided league. I don't think it would be fair to anybody. I think that honestly decentivizes more teams from spending money. If I'm being completely honest, because at that point, what's the point of fielding a competitive roster if the Dodgers are gonna just be able to buy every and anybody that they can possibly get their hands on? I mean, that would just be unfair for the rest of the league. So I'm all for spending money, but there needs to be a limit at some point because that is just ridiculous. I don't think any team should be able to do that, have that many stars. And like I said, I think it disincentivizes other teams from spending money because at that point, like I said, what the hell is even the point? So, that's just my little 2 cents about that. Hopefully he doesn't go there. Hopefully he goes to the Astros. I know that's not happening. I've been talking about that for forever on here. And it's just my little delusion that, I'm just going to keep with me until he actually signs somewhere. But I will say I just saw this tweet pop up on my Twitter account because it's Twitter, not X. And it says Yankees hitters not named Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton are hitting 143, 231, and a 157 slash line in 78 appearances so far during the World Series. That is absurd. As me and Kirby have been saying, it is Giancarlo Stanton and Juan Soto against the world, and they are just trying to get it done with, dreams and the power of friendship. But it's just not happening for them because they have no help outside of themselves. They can't rely on anybody but themselves, and they're trying to stick it to the man, and the man is sticking it to them.
Yep, I agree. Well, Joe, are you about ready to wrap things up for the night?
I am. We are now in the middle of the 7th. The Dodgers are still leading the Yankees 4-0. By the time we record our next episode, the World Series should be wrapped up, and we should be giving you a, World Series recap and a a preview of the off season to come. There we go. I was trying to find the words. So, that we will talk about more things, more free agency stuff, probably next week. But as it stands right now, the Dodgers are currently winning this game and are on pace to take a 3-0 lead in the World Series.
Definitely. Well, Joe, I'm going to say one last thing and then I'll wrap it up. Thank you for making those reels for us, those shorts on our YouTube, and for our Instagram, because those have had our viewership way up. We're also up like 9 subscribers since our last pod, which is awesome. So thank you everybody for the support, whether it's on our YouTube page or on our Instagram or at Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. We really appreciate that support. And there's going to be a lot more shorts, a lot more reels to come. So keep tuning in, keep sharing this with your friends. We really want to keep growing the show. So thanks everybody and have a great night.